I've been active here for a while now and have talked about my experiences across several posts. So I figured I would consolidate some of my experiences into one thread if I can. Sorry if this is a bit long, but these are nuanced subjects and I wanted to be as thorough as possible. Obviously, take this with a grain of salt. I do not claim to know the nature of these experiences at all. All I know is that, 1. They are very strange, 2. They are very consistent with other people's anomalous/alien experiences, and 3. They have become increasingly blatant over time. With all of this said, I only ask you keep an open mind. Enjoy. So my experiences seem to run the gamut of the physical, metaphysical, out-of-body, psychic, etc., as well as dreams. That's just how it goes with this subject. I cannot say for sure that all of them are objectively real, whatever that means, and it wasn't until recently that I even became more comfortable with talking about this stuff. I finally settled on this being real on some level earlier this year, when I had another intense series of experiences in a very short span. This time they actually left unambiguous, physical marks. Then, as if that wasn't enough, some close friends of mine also received similar anomalous marks in association with strange experiences, and well, it started to all really sink in. I'm still coming to terms with it, TBH. My first really jarring experience was about 4 years ago. I woke up in the middle of the night after having apparently dozed off in my armchair. I thought I heard people's voices in my house, and right as that occurred to me, I somehow got the distinct impression that these people were coming for me. Just as I feel this force is right outside my bedroom door, I suddenly both hear and feel, in the same instant, this insanely loud motorized sound, and my whole body starts to fill with this terrific vibration. It was literally deafening. It felt like a low bass vibration combined with a motorboat engine kicking on. It started kind of soft at first, then got more intense. I also became paralyzed as all of this was happening. It was probably the most terrifying moment of my life. Like I said, you could hear it and feel it. Gradually, I could somehow feel it as it filled every molecule of my body over about 20 to 30 seconds, and all the while I was convinced I must be getting abducted by aliens or something. As the vibration filled my extremities and eventually reached my head, my vision started to fill with a black sort of static, and then I blacked out. I woke up hours later, now in my bed and no longer my armchair. The way I woke up felt like a fade from black in a movie. It was gradual rather than instantaneous like it normally is. My arms were crossed like a mummy, and my shirt was unbuttoned only on the inside buttons. I was flabbergasted, to say the least. Ever since then, I started seeing aliens and having experiences from time to time, probably like a dozen or so experiences over the 4 years. At the time I chalked up these experiences as potentially out-of-body, or astral projection, or maybe just lucid dreams. I started to have this thing happen which I called pinging, where I would be having a regular dream and then UFOs would show up, and I would become aware of being in bed sleeping and my body would fill with this low-key vibration. Much less intense than the feeling from the previous experience I just described, more relaxing, almost like a Tibetan singing bowl. If I didn't fight the vibration and instead held onto it, I would float up out of my body and have experiences. I have since come to understand that this is all pretty typical to what folks call astral projection. I'm still learning in this regard, but I have learned to do it by will at this point. Maintaining is the issue now. One such experience involved me floating up through my apartment, through the upper floors of my building, up into the sky and then zooming through space. Next I know, I'm in a dark space with a giant green praying mantis alien being in front of me. I cannot move. In my head I say, hello? Then I hear, also in my head, this very friendly response. It said hello, back. The voice was distinctly male, and reminded me of a salesman at the time. I then asked it, what am I doing here? It responded, well, we saw you were here, and so we thought we would show you around. We? I asked. Are they here? Somehow I knew he meant the Greys. Yes, it said, simply. Then I noticed two small grays fade into view on either side of it. I started panicking and felt my heart rate go up. The mantis seemed to sense this, and the experience began to destabilize. As it faded out, I heard the being say goodbye, my last name, in the same friendly voice as ever. Another incident started similar, but once the vibrations hit, I was almost instantly in the experience. Little to no transition period. So I became aware of being in a dark space which felt like my apartment, but somehow not my apartment, if that makes sense. A small, 4-foot gray materializes directly in front of me. I can't move. I start panicking and praying, and I'm not religious, so it was kind of funny. The gray seems to react by running left and then right, before settling back in the center of my view. The way it moved was very odd, almost like it was shuffling/twitching in fast and slow-mo at the same time, somehow. Then, in my head, I hear it speak in this whispery voice, almost like coming through an old walkie-talkie, "Don't do that." So I stop the praying and try to calm down and start trying to exude loving vibes, as I had also heard that helps somehow with these encounters. It then asks, "May I set you down?" And I give a sort of silent affirmative. Then it approaches me and starts doing something to my lower half, but I can't see what. After 20 to 30 seconds, which felt like an eternity, the gray finally says welcome. Then I wake up in my bed. Now, as I said, until this point I was willing to write these experiences off as very vivid dreams, even though in my gut I did not think they were, at least not all of them. I don't mind if you guys write them off either, and to an extent I'm still willing to myself. What I am not willing to write off is what came next. Shortly after all this I moved across the country for a bit, and after a few quiet months the experiences amped up again. In the span of a week I had about 5 experiences. During one I saw a silhouette which was very clearly a gray lurking by my bed. The next day I felt some soreness in my leg and thought I'd pulled a muscle/had gotten a Charlie horse in my sleep, but I would always remember when that happened. Then later that day I noticed a perfectly spaced, straight line of what appeared to be needle marks on my leg. I was stunned, but even then, I was still in denial to an extent. The more I thought about it though, it made no sense. I'm very familiar with the type of pain that comes with intramuscular injection, and there was zero mistaking it in this case. This was the dead of winter in 2021. There was 3+ feet of snow outside, and not a single bug in my house. No spiders, bed bugs, nothing. And these looked nothing like bug bites. Or a healing scratch. I know in my gut that these are something else. As if to seal the deal, the very next day I woke up partially paralyzed, and saw a small gray glide around my bed and out of my room. Almost like it was doing a post-op checkup. Here are the pics. From top down they show a few angles of the marks as I found them, then after they had healed for a few weeks, then an edited version from months later where I tried to show just how precise and distinct they are. Even now, 8 months later, you can still see them. I don't know if they'll ever go away fully. About a week later, I also received these triangular birthmark things, which were not there prior to these experiences. They're both in the same part of my forearms, both exactly 1.5 inches from the crux of my elbow. I will admit these are significantly less compelling than the needle marks, and I'm willing to write them off to an extent. That said, similar triangular markings are quite common in this field and have been posted on this sub a lot. I just share them for reasons which will become clear shortly. It didn't stop there. A few months later, about 3 months ago, I moved back in with my roommate of several years, and show him the marks. He had been quite skeptical in the past and remained so, but I think seeing these marks finally started to catch his interest and open his mind. One night, we had a deep discussion about the alien subject. My friend isn't that into woo stuff, but he isn't unfamiliar with it either, and for whatever reason that night he told me he would set a conscious intention for whoever is out there, aliens or what have you, to make themselves known to him in an explicit way. Neither of us thought anything would happen, but then it did. Almost exactly 24 hours after setting this intention, my friend wakes up with these marks. He had zero memory of bumping into stuff or doing anything which would cause them. Not only that, but immediately prior to receiving them he had an experience while sleeping where he remembered seeing strange flashing lights. He also had an intense alien dream where a typical Grey-type alien was trying to get his attention and he kept trying to ignore it. Spooky stuff. So he goes on to tell another one of our mutual friends about all this craziness, only for our friend to surprise us with some marks of his own. He had no memories of anything alien as far as I know, but he still thought them strange enough to take a picture. Our experiences jogged his mind. Turned out, he received them almost at the same time that I had received my needle marks. This friend's marks look strikingly similar to my needle marks, if maybe a bit more fresh. He also had that characteristic soreness which comes with IM injection, mostly just when you flex the muscle. Since then I have not had any other incidents. The longest I've gone between them is about a year, so we'll see if it's really over or not. I definitely skipped a few here and there, but this is already way too long. I might add those in further posts one of these days. I will conclude by adding that both of my parents have had alien abduction type experiences of their own, mostly from before I was born. My sister has not, but has had many out-of-body experiences of her own. Ultimately, I really wish I knew what this all meant. I wish my experiences made more sense. I have no idea what "may I sec you down" meant, but I know it was asking my permission to do something to me, so that's nice. I almost felt like these experiences were emergency tune-ups of some kind. I'd like to hope they were helping me, somehow, and even though I was usually very scared, these beings never came across evil to me. If anything, the gray was totally neutral and the mantis was almost too friendly. Anyway, thanks for reading. It's a crazy world out there.